friends, it's Kelly. I'm going to show you how I use the Silhouette Design Studio and Pages Aztec background cut file. I went from the cut file to this to make my design team layout this week for Paige using her gorgeous Splendid collection. So let's head over to the design studio. So I opened the Aztec background in the Silhouette Design Studio and I rotated it 180 degrees because I want to use 4 of the triangles to create a frame for my photos. I made a copy sitting off to the left there. I just colored it differently so there's no confusion with the pieces that I'm working with. And selecting a few at a time or just point and delete to pieces that I wanted to omit from the paper side of my design. So point and delete or select them together and then group the right hand side of my design. Now I'm going to work on the stitching side, so I'm going to ungroup this copy of Paige's cut file and erase the pieces that I'm not going to stitch by using the same process that I did on the right side. So I'm going to select a few at the same time or just point and delete on the pieces that I don't want to stitch. Now I did make a little boo-boo and I left that in just so you can see how easy it is to go back and correct any mistakes if you plan to use the same process to do this yourself. So when I move over the right side onto the mat, you'll see that there are duplicate pieces. See how the green and pink overlap? So I erased a few of the pink pieces so that I can move the cut files together and group them. Now I'm going to move that back together so it fits oh so nicely. And I actually wanted to paper the top green slats there, and you'll see me change those to pink and then group it with my right side instead of the left side. And I've just used the colors so that I can see visually which side is papered and which side I want to stitch. So I changed them to pink and grouped them with the pink side. So I'm going to move the right hand side of my design off the mat so that I can work with the stitching side. So I've grouped them together and just moved them to the middle. I'm going to be using the stipple feature. It looks like a star. It's the second tool in. So check off stipple and move the arrow on the toggle all the way to the right. And you can see that it changes the cut file into dots. Now that's no longer a cut file, but we'll trace it and just ensure that you can see it with the yellow dots there. And now it's changed the black dots into red dots, and those are little dots that your Cameo can cut for stitching. I want to right size this so that my stitching isn't super close to the edge of the page, and so I'm going to be just making each side of my design just a little bit smaller than the original. And that's so that when I stitch, I'm not stitching close to the edge of the page. So I've lined them both up, left a little border all the way around, grouped them together, and now I'm going to work on making a mat for my photos in the center, in the empty spot there. So I'm going to use these 2 triangles as placeholders. And I don't really need the rest of the cut file, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And so with these 2 triangles, let's make a copy here so that we can ensure they're the right size for the design. And I want to use 4 photos and place them on one big piece of white cardstock, and that's where I added my sequence. So there's two ways to go about this. Because I have the Silhouette Studios Business Edition, I get some extra shapes that I can work with, and one of them is a diamond. So if you have the Business Edition, this is how you can go about making a diamond shape so that your photos can sit on an outline and sew on sequence if you desire. So I'm just right sizing the triangle, and when I put it back into my design here using Pages Aztec background, that looks about right. I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller so that the sequins don't overlap any of the other elements in my design. And I'm going to make my photo mats just a bit smaller too. So I only am going to use one of these diamonds to make a cut file for my photos. And I'm going to cut the photos right in the Silhouette Design Studio, and I'll show you in a moment how to do that. So if you don't have the business edition, this is how you go about making a diamond around those shapes. Using your offset feature, just offset those two triangles together, and then edit with your point editing tool. And add the dots to your cut file by just double clicking on it. That will open your point editing tool. When you point at a dot, it changes to white, and you can drag or delete it to change the shape. So we're going to do some right sizing of the diamond so it fits within the frame that we made, the green part on my mat. And I'm going to copy it 3 times because I'm going to be using 4 photos just to make sure it all fits. And that looks good. So that diamond inside the frame is what I'm going to use to cut my photos in the Silhouette Design Studio. So let's do a quick recap. I created left and right side of my design using Pages Aztec background. The pink side will cut. I'm just going to show you that. When you send it to cut, the red lines are going to cut. The red dots are just going to stipple the page, and I used white AC cardstock for stitching later on. So I brought my cut file over to another page. Just Command C, Command V, and I'm going to bring a photo into the Silhouette Design Studio. I'm going to resize it because 42 inches would be way too big. So I brought in a 6-inch photo, and then there's my diamond that I'm going to use to cut out the photo. Now I want to put the diamond on top of my photo. So arrange, bring to the front, and then I'm just going to play with the photo until the diamond fits over a part of the photo that I want to cut out. And I like to print my photo and then place it 1 inch down and 1 inch over on the mat, and just playing around with the photo size here, making sure it's in the right place on my mat with the cut file over top. So I've got to move my photo down just a bit, get it right in the right spot, because when I print that on my printer and put it on my mat, the cut file will be in the exact right place to grab the piece that I want. So you can see the red diamond there. That's what's going to cut. Let me use the crop feature and show you how it will cut the photo. So I'm just going to select it here, modify crop. So after cutting out the photo, this is what I would have left, and I would bring that photo onto my design and cut 3 more just like that. using the same process. So there's a lot of information here. If you have any questions, please reach out. And thanks so much for being here. See you again soon. Bye-bye.